Welcome back. After months of training and engagement, youth from around the island will fill the seats of the highest chambers in the House of Assembly. 17 youth parliamentarians, Junior Speaker of the House and Clerk of Parliament, held a first sitting of National Youth Parliament today, Tuesday.
Youth from across the island participated in this year's Youth Parliament on Tuesday, February 18th. The debates were centered on several issues affecting the youth, mainly a proposed need for educational reform. Both sides of the House debated their views on the issue and proposed policy which would guide a way forward. The recommendations from these fruitful debates among the youth will be sent to Prime Minister Allen Chastanet and his cabinet for discussion and further consideration. Youth Minister for Education Alan Splant stressed the importance of youth inputs in the area of education.
This debate means a lot to me, and so I believe to the students of St. Lucia. And that, first of all, we must understand that we are in the capacity of representing young people here today. So whatever that we say in this honorable house will reflect the views of young people. Number two, that St. Lucia, that it's a plea on behalf of the young people in the National Parliament to administration, government administration, that we believe that St. Lucia is ready for education reform. And here we have young people from all different class and nature, from all the constituencies in this honorable house, debating education reform. But at the end of the day, when we come to speak in this honorable house, we have to say it how we see it. We cannot sugarcoat it, and we have to let the government know that this is currently wrong with our education system, and that we the young people want to make the necessary changes.
Chairman of the St. Lucia Youth Parliament Committee, Raheem Joseph, underscored the importance of today's debate, recognizing it as the first youth parliament debate to take place as part of independence activities.
I think any independent country must ensure that young people are part of decision making from their booth. So I believe that within the sphere of independence, it's very, very important. Additionally, it's more than that, because we're actually earmarking for having it in April. We're earmarking to have a bit more sessions throughout the year, which continues to solidify the institutionalization of youth parliament. So it is very significant. And as I mentioned to other media houses, we would have met with cabinet yesterday, and they would have made certain commitments to ensure that the youth parliamentarians are well taken care of in the future, whether it is by constituency visits, whether it is to shadow the various ministers via their various portfolios. So that is historic. And I believe that on the cusp of our 41st independence, that is very, very important to our development.
The first sitting of Youth Parliament was held under the theme, The New Faces of Democracy. Port 7 News, I am Jacques Ode.
Before addressing gathered stakeholders and media personnel at the launch of the National Export Strategy, Minister for Commerce Bradley Felix took a moment to express his satisfaction with Youth Parliament proceedings. According to the minister, the success of the debate is significant in St. Lucia's path to a brighter future.
Let me first apologize. I am one of the people who's a stickler to being on time, and I want to apologize for being maybe 5 minutes late, because I was so riveted this morning with the proceedings of the Youth Parliament. It was extremely difficult to get up from what was happening. I would encourage each one of you all to go on the NYC site and review their presentation in Parliament today. We have no worries about the future.
Meanwhile, Senator Fortuna Belrose underscored the need to allow youth to engage in discussions on issues affecting them, and said the annual debate serves as a nursery for several future policies to be debated in the House.
I think there's a lot to learn, because, when you look at young people and the level of energy that you see, and the level of interest and the way they respond to leadership in the country, I think it's very important for us to understand the significance of that role that we play as leaders in terms of enabling and facilitating, our young people and creating the environment for all our youngsters in our society to achieve the goals and aspirations that they have for themselves.
Felix and Belrose both signaled their continued support for the youth and youth initiatives. In an effort to fulfill its mandate, Export St. Lucia has launched the National Export Strategy. Described as St. Lucia's blueprint for growth, the NES aims to elevate the export sector in St. Lucia.
Export St. Lucia is mandated by the government of St. Lucia through the Ministry of Commerce to increase the aggregate volume and value of exports through advocacy, policy development, and assistance to exporters. It is the lead agency tasked to spearhead the island's national exports development effort. A newly launched national export strategy will function as a compass for Exports St. Lucia, the Ministry of Commerce, and St. Lucia's development partners in their joint efforts to help the country's small and medium-sized enterprises increase their competitiveness. CEO of Exports St. Lucia, Sunita Daniel, says the national export strategy will guide efforts to generate employment, improve the business environment, and explore means of sustainable growth.
I can assure you that at Exports St. Lucia, we have made all necessary internal adjustments to ensure the successful implementation of this strategy. This will not be another strategy which we launch today and we forget about it in the next couple of months. This strategy, I can assure you, and this is a vow, will be 100% successfully implemented. We are committed to you, our clients, and the success of all business enterprises in St. Lucia, both big and large. Now that we have the strategy in hand, I turn to my staff, and you'll see these lovely people in green and black at the back who have really worked really hard. I think we have an extremely good team at Exports St. Lucia, and thank you also for your good work.
The National Export Strategy offers a suite of trade-related strategy solutions to maximize the developmental payoffs from trade. Director of the Regional Development Division of the CARICOM Development Fund, Lennox Fort, says St. Lucia is among the region's most open economies, and the implementation of a national export strategy increases commitments to maximizing the benefits that come with greater international trade.
The model of economic development premised on export diversification is the way to go. The St. Lucian economy has largely been outward-looking. Exports to GDP for St. Lucia average, and this is exports of goods and services, for St. Lucia average around 58% over the period 2014 to 2018. And within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, St. Lucia ranks among the largest exporters by value. On the demand side, there is room for the expansion of St. Lucian exports into the wider CARICOM and the markets available under the bilateral trade agreements in which St. Lucia participates. It is this potential that the export strategy is expected to tap into.
The National Export Strategy was developed with the assistance of the International Trade Center within the framework of its Trade Development Strategy program. Director of the International Trade Center, Maureen Jansen, predicts the export strategy will allow the public and private sectors as well as civil society to take full advantage of trade. She says the potential is tremendous if put into constant practice.
Those globalists, those who think openness, they are people from nowhere. St. Lucia is saying, no, we are uniquely St. Lucian. We are proudly St. Lucian. Yet we have a global appeal. These two things can go together, and this export strategy contains the elements that will help you to make it happen.
The strategy offers St. Lucia a unique opportunity to help its enterprises grow, sustain their export relationships, and climb up the technology ladder, thereby driving competitiveness. For 7 News, I am Jacques Wooding.
The Tourism Satellite Account TSA was officially launched on Monday the 17th of February. The TSA is the main tool for the measurement of the economic impact of tourism in St. Lucia, providing critical data that will inform policy regarding the sector.
The Ministry of Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries on Monday officially launched the Tourism Satellite Account TSA. The TSA is a standard statistical framework and the main tool for the economic measurement of tourism. It provides credible data on the impact of tourism and the associated employment. It also provides St. Lucia's balance of payments and information on tourism human resource characteristics. Minister for Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries, Honorable Dominic Fede, indicated that the TSA is very important in the process of designing economic policies related to tourism development.
Tourism is simply a development tool. It is how we raise revenues through our government to invest in social services such as schools and hospitals and roads and playing fields. All those necessary infrastructure things that people require to have a good quality of life and to advance our country. And so this exercise of the tourism satellite account is of tremendous importance. It's a windfall policy achievement for our government and for indeed St. Lucia, the industry of tourism and the people of St. Lucia. It gives policymakers a better opportunity to make informed decisions.
The implementation of the TSA serves to increase and improve knowledge of tourism's importance relative to overall economic activity to St. Lucia, assist in the development of more efficient tourism policies and employment, and creating awareness among the various players directly and indirectly involved in the tourism sector of its economic importance and by extension its role in all industries involved in the production of goods and services demanded by visitors, which include the agriculture sector. Donald Invite is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Information and Broadcasting, Culture and Creative Industries.
We have gotten to the point where tourism has been dynamically improving and increasing by leaps and bounds on St. Lucia and other Caribbean islands. So it's incumbent on us, it's incumbent on policymakers, and we welcome the charge to ensure that we're able to put out research and evidence-based reporting on tourism in the various subsectors and generally its performance as an economic driver to be able to inform proper policy development and planning. And so hopefully in the coming months and years, when tourism starts to advocate a little strongly for the various principles on the various equipment, assets, infrastructure, and other infrastructure, whether it be legal, policy, and other matters, that we are able to back it up with the evidence that is required for persons to understand the importance.
Chief Executive Officer of the St. Lucia Hotel and Tourism Association, Nurani Aziz, highlighting the country's dependence on the tourism sector, indicated that information is key to making the right decisions so as to benefit not only the sector but the people of St. Lucia.
It is only by measuring this growth and interdependence accurately can we know for sure what the true impact of tourism really is. And only by measuring tourism accurately can we capture the intelligence to drive innovation and creativity to fully extract the promises of tourism. Tourism Satellite Account has become the standard bearer and the main tool for the economic measurement of tourism. Developed by the World Tourism Organization, the United Nations Statistics Division, and a few other global partners, the TSA allows for the harmonization and reconciliation of tourism statistics, helping us to measure the consumption of goods and services by visitors and the domestic supply of goods and services to meet this demand. We have come to realize that growth in arrivals is one thing, but growth in visitor expenditure can be quite another.
Statistician from the St. Lucia Central Statistical Office, Arnold Lafay, provided insight into the TSA.
Having compiled the data, what occurs is we as the Central Statistics Office, together with Stats Canada, PRASAC, we're going to compile this data using statistical methods, and we're going to apply these necessary methods to create a tourism satellite account. It must be noted that confidentiality is a very important element or a very important thing for we at the CSO. And a number of checks and balances have been in place to ensure that your information or the information from businesses remain private.
The TSA was developed by the World Tourism Organization, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the Statistical Office of the European Communities, and the United Nations Statistics Division. For the Government Information Service, I am Janelle Norville.
This is the Hot 7 TV Nightly News. Sports and weather are coming up after the break.